In this video, I will show you how to get started with the ComponentOne DataGrid controls for WPF and Silverlight. I will cover data binding, column creation, as well as how to configure the most common features of the C1 DataGrid control. The first thing you need to do is drop the control from your toolbox to the window. This will add the necessary namespace and licensing information to your project. The C1 DataGrid control can be bound to a collection of items through its item source property. For instance, here I've set the data context of my page to this view model, which exposes a collection of items named products. So all I have to do is bind the C1 DataGrid's item source to my products collection. By default, you will notice that the columns are automatically generated. At runtime, users can sort columns by clicking their headers, and they can even apply basic filters. Also, the cells are editable, and special editors are displayed for numerical, Boolean, and date-time columns. Users can even resize and reorder the columns. A lot of this functionality is enabled by default. But next, let's look at how to configure these features and even enable more. Most of the end-user interaction features are enabled by properties that start with CanUser. These properties include CanUser add rows, edit rows, filter, freeze columns, group, remove rows, reorder columns, resize rows, and sort. For example, let's enable grouping and freezing functionality by setting the CanUser group and CanUser freeze columns properties. Grouping allows the user to group the dataset by any number of columns. Freezing columns is the act of making a column locked to the left edge of the window. As the user scrolls, the column does not scroll out of view. So far I've shown how you can populate and set some basic properties on the C1 DataGrid control. Next, I will show you how you can take more control over customizing your DataGrid by defining the columns yourself. Auto-generated columns are nice, but they do not allow full customization. If you're looking for a coded approach to customizing the columns, you can listen to the auto-generating column event to cancel or customize a column. Or if you prefer to stay in XAML, you can instead explicitly define the columns in your markup to get full control over each column's properties. Before you define your columns, set the auto-generate columns property to false. Then open up the columns collection editor. Here you will see the different types of columns that you can add to the grid. Let's add a few and bind them explicitly to fields from our data context. First, I'll add a text column to display the product names. You'll notice all of the properties that you can set on this individual column, such as CanUser group, CanUser move, edit on selection, and the isReadOnly property, which you can use to make a non-editable column. For this column, I'll set the header to name, and then create a data binding to my data context. I can use the binding dialog here to discover the fields from my data source, or I can just type in the path. What this is doing is generating the XAML markup for my columns. Next, let's add one more column, but this time I'll choose a date-time column. The specialized column types have unique properties. For instance, on a datetime column, we're interested in the format and edit mode properties. To display a short date, I will set the format to D, and then set the edit mode to date so that the time information is left out of it. And like the other column, I need to set the header and create a data binding. This column will be bound to the introduced field. You can use the columns collection editor as I've done, or you can just type out the XAML as you see, whichever method you prefer. At runtime, we can verify that only these two columns have been generated, and they've been formatted just how we want it. We didn't have to do any extra work to customize the sorting, filtering, and grouping functionality either. The last thing I will show you in this video is how to create a template column. If any of the built-in column types are not good for your data, you can fully customize the appearance of the cells by creating a template column. Here I've added a template column and set its header to color. On this column I will define the cell template property to be a custom data template containing a border bound to the color field from my dataset. It's a very simple example, but it shows how you can use template columns to extend the base functionality of the C1 DataGrid control. You can also customize the editor by defining the cell editing template. And that's all for this introductory video. To find more videos on C1 DataGrid, visit our.componentone.com.